Welcome to TradingView.com. This is John's report is for the 19th of May. Well, from an ES standpoint, we've had that bounce that came right off of retesting the positive extreme. Caught a bid. This is that buy the dip that everyone was wanting to do, and it was always a question of whether or not in buying that dip there would be enough to push it all the way through. And like we pointed out, once you have the ABM right there at 41.62 above, fine, you're okay to be long, but below it, short. So yesterday we popped briefly above it, and we'll show on the 5K charts and that it was under a lot of positive extremes. And as those started to fill, we dipped below it. And once that happened, the selling increased, and here we are now below the 76%, heading back down. And we've been in negative shakeout, and so this was that topping that we had noticed here as we were making highs, and then higher highs on lower shakeout, and then even higher highs on further deteriorated shakeout, which led to where we're at this particular stage. From a 50K, it was pretty clean. Let's put that one up there anyway. This is something we've been talking about, where that white NBI moves above magenta, and then you get a dip of the magenta below the 33 level, and let's see, right here it was at 35, and the next bar all the way down to 25, and it stayed there for a little while because the white had dipped below, but it reemerged right here as we began the descent, and pretty much wiped everything out. We had positive extremes going all the way back here, that 41.22, so again you get close to that 41.60 from a daily, and it just starts to devolve as you go down the scale. From an NQ standpoint, similar situation. You have that big bounce right as you get to the 50, but breaking back below the 50 puts a lot of strain on it, and we've seen a lot of outflows out of tech as a lot of people get concerned about that overvaluation situation that's related to, you know, the big five that really represent a huge portion of the S&P, and it makes it difficult when the rest of the market, that represents 25% of the value of the S&P and that, so it really puts strain on things when that goes south. So even if other stocks are able to hold on, it still makes it difficult. From a gold standpoint, there's that continued rise, a little softening there, and maybe even see a little bit more of that with that still dipping below, simply because maybe need to be some liquidations in there to cover additional margin in that people are still in the euro. Continue its assault, which is not good news for the dollar. I had talked about this, the expectation to move to 39 for Bitcoin to fill a positive extreme. I could put a daily as well real quick. Let's slide that one right in here. You can see from a daily standpoint, we filled, and then there's a bunch of these others that go further back in time that are next, all the way down to 27. You probably get a confluence support range somewhere in this 33 range as well. But, you know, for those that kept saying, oh, buy the dip, you know, I would mention this on our Skype chat, that third test of the lows rarely goes well. After that double bottom there, you really expect a strong surge, but white NBI over that magenta on each of these has precipitously led to it. Now, we're not seeing that at this particular stage, so potential for it to hold, but once people start realizing that every time there's new purchases within it, they're just being sold into, it sort of becomes an obvious situation. So here it was, the intraday 5K. Started off the day positive extremes, kept pushing up forward. There's the DOC spread that took place right there, just at the same time that white then pops above, and we filled that positive extreme. Then we just kind of fluttered around it, slightly below, above, but each time we were getting these bumps of the white going over, and that usually leads to retrace back down to the 0 level, and if it's still in place and continues to lead to it, and we popped up again here, it held on for a little while. As you look for move above 7 or so from an MBI white, or to take out this previous peak level. And that usually begins at that began right there, a couple of bars before it faded lower, and you can see white pretty much stayed above on the MBI throughout most of that range. And each time it did, it was just looking for that setup, and you get the pause while it dips below, but then as soon as it comes back, that's your continuation move to the south side. Tried to fight back up to that 50% again, and similar situation. And it was a little bit later before it dipped back below the 33. Did a couple of times, got really close right there, 33.08. A little aggressive, so I tend to hit those, particularly when they're right at the 50% ranges, and then we just cascaded lower the rest of the time, leading us to where we are in the aftermarket here, already putting in a pretty active setup, but pretty good selling within this setup, and so there's potential for a little bit of rebounding here, but these are all previous positive extremes prior to that have to be filled, so it's just a matter of recognizing those setups. I'm working on the program that will identify that clear, at least from a dot standpoint. If I get that one squared away, I will send it out to you. But I typically look for these situations where that white pops up, and already I'd already been working on the setups where, when you're below 25 and you have those pivots lower, particularly when you get blue going below green, you also get this similar kind of weakness, which corresponds to like what happened over here. You kind of get a little sideways action. It's not enough to create the boost. Even with the dips of the red, you've got to have that magenta over in order for them to capture any kind of field sustained action. And of course, we can see this also on the DOC here, where we have no steel reset for the longest time until we get right about here, get a little positive element potential, but the steel just continued to fade from there, and you had to roll over the green, so it literally happened right after. So not incongruent seeing that from an adjustment. And this is the 2A program, but adding those conditions in there, this would end up being, will stay all red throughout those readings when we see this kind of setup. And that'll make it really easy. So really powerful being able to stay on top of the market this way and see its evolution, and certainly consistent with where we were on that 50K reading setup. So I'll continue to put that up and we can follow along with it. But as always, I'll be in a Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.